Hey guys, it's Carl with 3F Properties of Louisiana. I wanted to take a minute to kind of talk about the potential pitfalls of renting a property. If you got a property that maybe you inherited, or you decided that you want to go out and buy a property to start a rental business, there's some things you definitely need to pay attention to and beware of. You know, a lot of this stuff is done easier if you have systems in place. So if you don't have systems in place, these things can be a bit of a headache. The first thing is marketing the property. You know, if you're going to do it yourself, you're going to put a sign in the yard, you're going to put it on Craigslist, you're going to put it on Zillow, whatever kind of other resources are out there available for you. And you're going to get a ton of calls, especially right now in New Orleans. Rental units are harder to find, the prices are really high, so you're going to get a lot of people calling, inquiring about the property, and you're going to have to give them the same spiel over and over about when it was updated, does it have washer and dryer connections, and all that kind of stuff, even though you put that in the listing, in the advertisement. How many bedrooms does it have? Does it have a kitchen? You get some funny questions. So you at that point, you're going to have some people that are going to want to take a look at the property. You're going to have to go over and show it to them, and Saturday mornings and Wednesday at 8 o'clock at night, you know, depending on their schedule when they get off work. There's going to be a lot of no-shows. That happens a lot, and nothing is more frustrating than when you skip a kid's practice or a game to go show a property and then the people don't show up. Trust me on that one. You know, you get some people that at that point that are interested, they're going to want to fill out an application. Some of these people are going to qualify, some of these people are not. You know, you got to be real careful with who you put in your property. Obviously, there's no guarantees, but there are certainly some things that you can pay attention to try to set yourself up for success over failure when it comes to placing a tenant in your property. I always do a background check on people. I'm not looking to get too deep, but I just want to make sure they don't have any major criminal violations, you know, anything that's dangerous or anything to do with, you know, just anything that is a big red flag, you know. And I want to make sure that also, usually in the background check that I do, it will tell me if they've ever been evicted from a property or not. So I want to make sure that they haven't been evicted before. If they do, it's got to be an amazing story for me to get past that hurdle. And also, again, the criminal activity, making sure there's just no criminal history there. Income verification, really employment verification is a big thing. You know, there's certain metrics out there where people say they ought to make, you know, no more than their rental, the amount they pay for rent should be no more than 30% of their gross income, or 25% or 40%. And those are good to go by, but, you know, different neighborhoods and different people are going to have their own, you know, budgets and systems in place for the amount of money they make. You know, some people can stretch a dollar more than others, the bottom line. So it really depends. You know, someone might, you know, for me, I'm looking at the whole thing as a, you know, everything as a whole. You know, if somebody's been in a job for 4 years and they get great, you know, their management has nothing but great things to say about them, and they make enough money and they're comfortable, and, you know, then that's going to be a thumbs up for me, at least for that portion of it. Of course, old landlord verification, always a must-do, but, you know, I'm always a little cautious of that, just because you never know. I mean, this landlord, they may be telling you that this person's great just because they want to get them out of their house. So I take everything that the previous landlord says with a grain of salt. They may tell you they pay rent on time every month. Again, I'm always a little questionable of their motivation. So you just never know. You just got to be careful of that. You know, once you get to that point, if you find someone who you want to put in there, you got to do some paperwork. There are a couple different places you could get leases from. You can get them online. You can hire an attorney to draw one up. I have one that I've used, that I've crafted over the years. But just be real. Make sure your paperwork is tight. That it covers everything. It's worth it if you're going to venture into renting houses to probably hire an attorney to draw up a lease the first time, and then you could just have your lease that you use over and over again. But, you know, the house I looked at in the Upper Ninth Ward yesterday, the lady had a lease with a neighbor of hers who wanted to rent the place out. Her father passed away. The owner's father passed away. She inherited the property. and decided she wanted to rent the house out because she just didn't think she wanted to sell it and let the house go. But the paperwork was really ambiguous. The prospective tenant drew it up. There was no monetary consideration. In other words, there was no monthly rent. It was just the idea was that she was going to fix the property up. That's literally what it said. And that's really tough because that's such an ambiguous statement. The lease was very short. It was too short. It didn't cover a lot of stuff. And now she's in a situation where she's trying to terminate the lease and the lady's giving her problems. So she doesn't even live in the house. So I guess she cleared out all this of the belongings from the owner's father and has not done any repairs. As part of the lease, she was supposed to put the utilities on, keep the utilities on. She hasn't done that. The power's been off for 8 months. So, that's, you just got to be real careful with the paperwork. I'd recommend getting with an attorney or a property manager, somebody you can pay a couple of dollars one time to get a solid, complete lease and then go from there. And then at that point, you got a property. You got a tenant. So management at that point, property management's the worst part of the real estate business. It really is. People are late. They're going to give you sob stories. They're going to give you this. They're going to give you that. It's hard if you're a mom and pop landlord to really break away from the people side of those situations and just be hardcore. Rent's due this day. If you don't pay, I'm evicting you. But you can't let people walk on you. You got obligations to pay. You got a mortgage on the property. You got taxes. You got insurance you got to pay on the property. This is your property, your investment. So it's a challenging at that point. A lot of tenants nowadays are paying electronically. That's a big plus because there's no "I lost the check in the mail" excuse. But those are some of the main things. That's the process mainly of renting out a house, and some of the things you got to be careful when they go along with it. So you really got to watch that. I recommend getting with a property manager, at least for a leasing agent, at least to place a tenant. That way you don't have to deal with all the phone calls, all the qualification, all the landlord verification, all the employment verification, all the showings, the no-shows. They deal with all that. They usually take half to 3/4 of the first month rent for that. And then if you feel comfortable to manage it yourself, you can go on and do that. But that's what I do with my stuff. I have someone who places my tenants, and then I manage most of the month-to-month, the monthly management. I do that myself. It's also property specific. Some properties are just going to be a lot more management intensive than others. Also, just in general, if you're renting for if your net income is going to be less than $1,000 a month, I would caution you about renting a property out. You're just going to have too much headaches. The juice isn't worth the squeeze, as my friend says. It's just not enough juice for all the headaches. If you're gonna scale it, make it a business, something you could bring in total of $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, I think that's definitely worth it. That's solid retirement money right there. But anything, in the hundreds of dollars a month that you're bringing in, is probably not going to be worth it. So, that's it. Just wanted to kind of go over that. Like I said, that house I looked at yesterday, that lease was just terrible, and it made me start thinking about the process of leasing and the pitfalls and everything like that. So. If you got any questions, 504-264-1407 or www.nolabuyshouses.com.